Hello, everyone. This is Judge Jennifer Bruner, candidate for the Ohio Supreme Court. And today I'm here on our Achieving Justice series. This is an interview with Carl Abeni, who's an attorney who is running for the Franklin County Common Pleas Court General Division. Welcome, Carl. How are you doing today?
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. So Carl, why don't you just start out by telling us a little bit about yourself and why you decided to run for the Common Pleas Court in 2020.
Sure, absolutely. So I have been a trial lawyer for 24 years. I've actually appeared in front of you as during your time on the trial court and several times in front of you on the Court of Appeals. I always knew that I wanted to have the back half of my career be about public service. I'm the sole provider for my family. And so I needed to make sure that the front half of my career was about taking care of my family and making sure that they were in a position to go through college and those sorts of things without significant debt. But having had that experience and having served in courtrooms all over the state, I came to appreciate how important good judges are in terms of the discharge of the public good. And I wanted to be part of that. And so I knew I would run for judge. I ran in 2018 and lost by a very small margin. And I couldn't let that be the end of the story. So here I am.
Wow, and what a time you picked to run during the pandemic of the century. Maybe hopefully it's one we won't see for a long time. So it's been kind of an adjustment to campaign, hasn't it?
It definitely has. We had a pretty organized campaign playbook. We have deviated from that playbook pretty substantially as we've gone forward. All the old rules apply differently today.
Sure, because you're in Franklin County, which is where Columbus, the capital, is located. And right now, it's mandatory mask orders from both the state, the county, and the city, correct?
That's correct. That's correct.
And so you've been nominated by the Democratic Party at the primary election. And I think that, it's really admirable, I have to say, that after you had that strong of a race in 2018, and it was just, you said, what, 300 and some votes you lost by?
No, it was a little bigger than that. It was 931 votes was the swing, and in a race that was too close to call until after Thanksgiving. So we had extra innings for about 3.5 weeks after Election Day.
Sure, and I know a lot of people would say, I need a break. I just don't think I can do this again. But you picked yourself back up. In fact, you were telling me a story about what some of your plans would be if you win the seat. And I think this is an open seat. The judge is retiring, who you're running to fulfill that seat. So you've got a strong chance, it looks like. But you were telling me about something really unique that I've never talked to another judge about. Maybe you can inform our listeners about your plans.
Sure. So one of the things that I discovered halfway through the campaign in 2018 was that it was just exhausting to talk about myself all the time. And what I really wanted to do was talk about public policy issues and social issues. I am a firm believer in social justice and ways that we can enhance that for all of the citizens. And the more I started listening to people as much as talking to people, in our communities, I came to appreciate that there's a significant structural barrier that prevents full participation in our judicial system. And it was something I could talk about, and it was also something I could fix. And so I decided in 2018 that whether I won or lost, I was going to work on this when the race was over. And so that's what I've been doing. And the issue is childcare at the courthouse. And I don't mean childcare specifically for county employees that work there, although that too. But what I really mean is childcare for defendants, for victims of crime, for witnesses, but especially for jurors. If you think about the fact that we have a structural barrier that prevents mostly single moms below a certain age and income level from fully participating in our programs and in our judicial system, the fact that those voices are underrepresented in our jury panels has to have a significant impact on the way justice is achieved or not achieved in at least some of the cases. And that's something that didn't seem like folks were paying a whole lot of attention to, and it occurred to me that that was something we could fix. So I did lose my race in late 2018 and took about 4 weeks off and licked my wounds a little and then set to work. And the first person I reached out to in January of 2019, the day after his swearing in, was my former opponent, Judge Dan Hawkins, who is also a good jurist, and we'd had a very collegial race. And I told him this idea over dinner and asked him if he would sign a board. And if he would sign a board, then it would be about good public policy and not just about politics. And to his great credit, he was interested. And so then I went to the administrative judge, Judge McIntosh, and laid out the idea. And then went around to all the other judges on the Court of Common Pleas, missed one, but got all of the others. And 16 of the 17 judges were absolutely enthusiastic about this idea and willing to verbalize their support. Went to the municipal court, spoke to about half of those judges, and then went to the county commissioners and told them, here's my idea. And they were excited about it. And if you look at the master plan for the county courthouse for 2022 and going forward, there is actually now space reserved for childcare, both for county employees and for jurors, defendants, and witnesses. Now, there's a lot of details that still need to get figured out. There's some risk management stuff that we need to talk about and other funding mechanisms, but it is on its way. And it's on its way. I'm very proud of having been able to be the ringleader of that particular circus.
Oh, that is just marvelous. And there are lots of good people around. I think clear back to 2002, when some folks in mental health and substance abuse service and treatment approached me about a substance abuse mental illness court. And we literally did something along the lines that you're talking about. It took some good leadership of a couple of judges. It was the time Judge Scott Vanderkar in municipal court, and then myself in common pleas court. And we formed this group of people from the community and put together an entire plan for a mental health court, municipal court, and a drug court and common pleas court. And really what you did is how you get things done, at least as I've observed in Central Ohio and Franklin County. There are many good people who want to see good public policy. And when there's someone who's willing to sort of shoulder the load and pull people along, they get on board and good things happen. And I anticipate you will get this done. That's fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah, it's an exciting idea. There are other states that have some models that approximate the same thing. It is perfectly doable. We just need to find that critical mass of people willing to put their heads together on it. So thank you.
Congratulations. Yeah. And well, and it is clearly, judges can't talk about issues. They can't say how they feel about this particular issue or that issue. Whereas if you look at somebody running for a legislative seat, they should probably have a list of where they stand on the issues, but judges can't do that. But they can talk about judicial administration. So that's just fantastic.
Thank you.
So I think it would be interesting for people to know too, that even though you've been in Columbus for decades, you actually grew up in Massachusetts, right?
Yeah, I don't have the accent anymore, but I grew up in Brockton, Massachusetts.
So say car.
So my mother calls me Carl and says, don't drink beer if you go to a party.
That's great. That's great. And so I think it's just so interesting that you ended up growing up outside of Boston, went to American University, met your wife, who, well, talk to us about the whole Russian piece and how that played into it.
So actually, just first a shout out to my hometown, if I can. So Brockton, Massachusetts, 120 years ago, was one of the most prosperous rising cities in America, and it was so on the backs of industry and manufacturing, particularly in the areas of shoes. It was the shoe manufacturing capital of the world in 1900, and it was an immigrant town, and so people would come to Brockton, Massachusetts from all over the world, and so it had these wonderful ethnic neighborhoods that were still mostly intact. that various immigrant cultures, and they all work together in terms of the city administration and in terms of working in the shoe factories. Thomas Edison in 1888 came to my hometown, Brockton, Massachusetts, and installed the first electric streetlights in America in my hometown in Brockton, Massachusetts. And that sort of was a sign of the prosperity that was to come. I graduated high school in 1987, and by then, every single one of those shoe manufacturing factories had closed down, all of them. And so today, and for a number of years, Brockton has been a little bit down on its luck, and it has seen. I have seen with my own eyes what happens when opportunity leaves a place, and optimism leaves a place. That my hometown has gone through some hard times. Things are looking up for them now for a variety of reasons, and they're in the middle of reinventing themselves. But that's an important part of the story, and it's an important part of my formative experiences. First as a teenager, and then as a lawyer, and hopefully as a judge. Which is to say, I didn't get here on my own. I rose through a difficult environment in a difficult city. The year that I graduated from high school, my hometown had gone from the shoe capital of the world to the per capita murder capital of America. In my high school was the first high school to have metal detectors installed at the doors, which I guess now is part of the way we live, but it was shocking at the time. And the best judges that I have known have understood that the people that appear before them, however they got there, are there on some of the worst days of their lives, and approach the job of judging with respect and humility. I understand that from coming from Brockton, Massachusetts.
So that's pretty amazing. So you went from Brockton to American University.
I did.
And in Washington, D.C. And I think you said you met your wife on like maybe the second day of college?
Third day of college. I was set up on a blind date with her.
That's great.
Yeah. It was, so we dated all through college. We spent some time in Russian class together. I thought I was going to get into international relations and international law. This was at the sort of the height of the Cold War in the late 80s. And by the time I graduated, the Soviet Union had fallen, and my plans changed as a result. But it's one of life's ironies that at the same time I was thinking, boy, Russian's a really hard language. I don't want to have anything further to do with it. She was thinking, I can make a go of this. And so the reason we moved to Columbus was that in 1998, she became the director of the Russian language program at Ohio State University.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I think you said she actually spent time in Russia as part of her training. Yeah. She
spent most of the 90s taking college students on study abroad programs over to Russia. And her PhD work, which was throughout the 90s, was on how to maximize the environment to get a student to learn a language on study abroad. Happened to be her case, but yeah. Overall.
Interesting. So you've got how many kids, and how old are they?
So I have two kids. My daughter just graduated from high school in a virtual Zoom graduation ceremony, and she's starting at CCAD in the fall. And my son,
so that people know, so she's an artist, Columbus College of Art and Design, right?
Columbus College of Art and Design. That's right. Yeah.
Wow.
She gets that from her mother. She doesn't get that from me.
And then your second one?
Yeah, my son is turning 16, and he is a rising sophomore.
That's great. That's great. And of course, we don't know yet what school is going to look like in the fall for kids in Ohio.
It's they're waiting with bated breath. I am astonished and pleased at how eager they are to get back to the classroom. Because they miss their friends, they miss the routines of school, and all of the. My daughter didn't get to go to a prom. She didn't get to walk across the stage with her cords and her sashes and her the experience that you think of with high school graduation. most of that, the folks that graduated this year are just not getting that experience. And, you know, it's hard.
Sure, and it creates new challenges for parenting as well.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So if there's one thing that you wanted people to remember about you in moving forward, and maybe they'll be voting early hopefully with a mail-in absentee ballot. And I mean, if this interview, if someone were to ask, okay, why should I vote for Carl? What would you tell them?
sure. Well, I have 24 years of trial experience, and I have learned an enormous amount about how to appropriately try a case. I've had great success all the way up to the Ohio Supreme Court, as I think you know. So people sort of look at judicial candidates, I guess, from three buckets, from the perspective of three buckets. Bucket number one is experience and competence. And I would invite you to look at my website, www.carlavaney.com, and learn about my experience. I do an awful lot of teaching and writing all over the country on teaching other lawyers how to try cases. And I'm very proud of that work. And then the next bucket, I guess, is community involvement and judicial temperament and engagement. And then the third bucket is, you know, the extent to which you think that they're the right person for the job based on the support that other folks that know them have given them. And I'm very proud to say that in that third bucket, I have a great deal of support from lawyers here in the Columbus legal community, folks that I've tried cases with and crossed swords against. Some of those folks are the ones that have been my biggest backers. And I wear that as a badge of honor, that if they can, after we, you know, had a hard fought battle where no quarter was asked or given, at the end of it, they say, this is somebody that really should be on the bench. And that would do a good job on the bench and would be fair and open-minded and have those technical competence skills from day one. I'm very grateful. I've had a number of endorsements in the community. I just got the firefighters endorsement yesterday. I'm extremely proud of that. And
congratulations.
Thank you. The Columbus Building Trades Council has endorsed me as well, with I think some more to come in the next couple of weeks. So I ask folks to look at my website. I think they'll discover that that I do have the technical skills, which are so critically important, but also that I'll approach the bench from a perspective of humility and fairness. That I will, you know, take each case as I find it, and that I will have, you know, a measure of compassion for the people in front of me, as much as dispassion in the facts that are appearing in each case. So I ask that folks take a look at my website and learn more about me, and I'm eager to share my news to the world.
Carl, thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure interviewing you today. And I have to point out to people that the Franklin County Common Pleas Court has had a lot of judges in the past 5 to 6 years age out. And that experience bucket that you talked about is really important, especially for the trial bench in the community who's used to litigating, whether it's civil or criminal. Someone who knows the mechanics and the rules of evidence and how to run a good trial is really important, especially as sort of new talent comes in and starts to get seasoned. The judge that you're following, Bill Woods, ran when he was 69 years old and was encouraged to run by someone of the opposite party who was sat as a judge, who said, you know, Bill, we need someone with your kind of experience, even if you can only serve for one term. So, you know, I think that's something voters don't think about very often, because they're not, a lot of times people are scared even at the thought of, oh, I don't want to be in the courthouse. But, you know, judges matter. Judges affect a lot going on in your life, whether you realize it or not. And yeah, your years of experience and your clear dedication seem like they're pretty good indications of how voters could visualize you as a judge on the bench. Thank you. Well, I wish you and your family well. Please stay safe and healthy, and I look forward to seeing you sometime out there. If not, it'll be virtually, and thank you again for letting me interview you today.
Thank you. Look
Thank
forward.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.